Hello, I'm Theolin. Welcome back to Soul School. And today I'm going to be talking about 4 more archangels. In the last video, which you can go back and look at, I was talking about 8 archangels. I was also talking about how they relate to the different traditional planets that you find in astrology. So now we're talking about 4 more archangels. And I described how the 8 archangels bring gifts. They bring qualities or blessings or potentialities that we can all make use of in our different ways. So who are the other 4? So just to check back, think about what ancient people felt about what was going on in the heavens, because that's where they thought the gods resided. So, as far as they could tell, there were only 7 heavenly bodies out there, 2 luminaries, the sun and the moon, and 5 planets. They didn't necessarily count the Earth, which they were actually standing on. So they would say there's 7, whereas I say there are 8. Now, they hadn't got telescopes, so they knew nothing about those distant planets, which the astrologers call the transpersonal planets, because they go beyond the personal. In astrology, we can see from their movements that they move very, very slowly, and therefore a whole generation will be born with, for example, Pluto in Libra, or Pluto in Leo, or Pluto in Leo was my generation. However, those transpersonal planets also have archangels associated with them. And when you look at your own horoscope, you could see whether those transpersonal planets, the archangels associated with them, would have any particular thing to say about your personal life. Let's go back to the idea of the emperor sitting in his court, waiting for his kings to bring him what he needs in order to govern. So he's got 8 kings there with tithes and resources, very practical things those archangels can bring you. And the emperor in his day-to-day life can be really satisfied with just those 8 archetypal powers. They're kind of superpowers in a way, if you make use of them properly. However, apart from his worldly concerns of governing his outer kingdom, managing the wealth, and so on and so forth, apart from that, he also has to address the spiritual needs of his empire and the people who live in it, and himself as well. So he has different spiritual advisors. If you think of perhaps a famous king like Henry VIII, he would have had somebody who dealt with the money, a treasurer or chancellor of some kind. He would have had somebody who made sure that all the people in the country were doing his bidding, whatever that happened to be on the day that he felt like bidding people. But he would also have had, apart from those pragmatic people counting out his money, he would have had the spiritual advisors. In the case of the English king, it would be somebody like the Archbishop of Canterbury or the Archbishop of York. They were talking about something much more important, really, but much more elusive and mysterious. They weren't counting the money. They were counting spiritual souls. They were counting values. Well, actually, I shouldn't have used that word counting for that, because counting doesn't really come into it. You're not even measuring. What word can we use here? They were identifying are trying to identify the state, the spiritual state of the nation. And so it is with the archangels who relate to the outer planets or the transpersonal planets. One particularly famous archangel that most people have heard about is Metatron. Metatron is associated with the planet Pluto. And Metatron brings great transformation into people's lives. Pluto is not particularly interested in how much money is in the bank. He's not interested in the bookkeeping. He's interested in whether you are doing what you can at a soul level in the world. So when we look at the empire of archangels, we consider what we could call the more practical archangels, the 8 that I mentioned in the previous video. But we could also consider what are those other archangels asking from us. And if we address them, will we be given tasks that will not just make sure our bank balance is okay, but tasks that will make us feel connected to the whole story of being a human, not just being a little individual human, but being kind of initiate into the great cosmic story so we understand our place in it. So that's what the archangels are about, who are kind of invisible beyond archangels. They are transpersonal, as we say in depth psychology. And getting to deal with those archangels and talking to them, that can be a real challenge because they can be more demanding than the others. They can turn your life inside out and upside down, and you'll come out the other end wondering who you are. It's a bit like Alice going down the rabbit hole, and then you'll discover something interesting. Are you ready for that? In the Empire of Archangels, I will keep everybody on a steady course because the most important thing to do is to be grounded, to know who you are, what you're doing, and make sure your checkbook is balanced, not run away talking to Metatron too soon in the journey. I hope that helps, and I'd love to see you in my Empire of Archangels class coming up October the 19th.